If you've shopped for a mid-range phone recently, you've probably noticed something strange. The hardware we used to take for granted is suddenly disappearing. For the last couple of years, spending 24,000 rupees bought you a very specific standard. You could reliably expect a crisp AMOLED screen and cameras capable of shooting smooth 4K video. This scatter plot maps out phones in that 20 to 25,000 rupee bracket over the past 3 years. You can see the cluster up top. Most devices strike a balance, offering solid displays and cameras with reasonable battery life. Then along comes the new realme 16x at 23,999 rupees. Watch where this new data point lands. It completely abandons that standard cluster, dropping way down on display and camera specs, but pushing way out on the battery axis. If you look at the box, you won't see those compromises advertised. Instead, you'll see massive text pushing claims like a 144Hz ultra-bright display and 18 gigabytes of RAM. As a buyer, you have to figure out if those impressive-sounding numbers actually deliver a premium experience, or if they are acting as a smokescreen for some serious hardware cuts. We need to strip away the marketing text and look at the physical components. We have to see if carrying a massive 7,000 mAh battery is actually worth sacrificing the basic standards of a 2024 smartphone. Let's start with the screen. Realme is heavily promoting this 6.8-inch panel as a 144Hz ultra-bright display. But when you power it on, the physical reality is very different. This is a 720p HD Plus LCD panel, lacking any of the AMOLED tech found in its predecessors. Because of that resolution and panel type, the media you watch is going to look soft. The deep blacks you expect for gaming or late-night streaming are washed out and gray. The camera system follows the exact same pattern, leaning heavily on the 50-megapixel AI main camera branding. The sensor is paired with a MediaTek Dimensity 6300 processor. That specific chip creates a hard ceiling on what this camera can actually process. You cannot shoot 4K video on this phone. You are strictly capped at 1080p at 60 frames per second. These hardware cuts make the phone a poor choice for modern content consumption or creation at the 24,000 rupee mark. Then there's the memory. The marketing highlights up to 12 gigabytes of RAM expansion, implying you're getting an 18 gigabyte device. On the motherboard, this phone only has 6 gigabytes of true, dedicated physical memory. To get to that 18 gigabyte number, the system borrows space from your internal storage drive and treats it like RAM. But storage drives have drastically slower read and write speeds than actual memory modules. Once you push past that initial 6 gigabyte threshold, your heavy multitasking is going to bottleneck and slow down. That constrained hardware also has to run the software out of the box, which is Realme UI 7, promised with 2 years of Android updates. And the software environment is heavy. The moment you boot it up, your app drawer is packed with pre-installed bloatware, cheap puzzle games, and extra e-commerce apps. Between the artificial memory inflation and a highly cluttered user interface, the daily software experience feels like a budget 15,000 rupee device, even if the price tag says otherwise. If the screen, camera, and memory are compromised, what exactly are you paying for? The massive 7,000 mAh battery and its charging capability. This single component delivers genuine, multi-day, off-the-grid endurance. It will outlast almost anything else in your pocket. But that raises an important question. Why did Realme have to slash the display and camera budgets so aggressively just to fit a bigger battery into this price tier? This graph tracks the global cost of memory and storage components over the last 24 months. That skyrocketing line is driven by enterprise investments in AI servers. Tech giants are pouring billions into these servers, which consume massive amounts of the global memory supply. This creates artificial scarcity and drives up component prices for everyone else. Look at the second line appearing here. Because those raw component costs are so high, the specs on mid-range consumer smartphones are forced to track inversely to maintain profitability. To keep a phone priced under 24,000 rupees while including an expensive high-capacity battery, manufacturers are left with no choice but to use cheaper LCD panels and lower-tier camera sensors. Choosing the Realme 16x means the consumer absorbs the industry's inflated AI memory costs just to acquire that larger battery. The Realme 16x is best understood as a hyper-specific utility tool, not a standard daily driver. This flowchart breaks down on your decision. It comes down to one question. Is extreme off-grid battery life your absolute #1 priority? If you're a gig worker, heavy traveler, or field operator needing constant screen on time, you're on the yes path. Here, the massive battery provides enough utility that the screen sacrifices make sense. But if you stream media, shoot social content, or flip between heavy apps all day, you are firmly on the no path. For this group, paying almost 24,000 rupees for a 720p LCD screen and zero 4K video support is a complete deal breaker. Ignore the 144Hz stickers, the AI camera branding, and the virtual RAM promises printed on the box. Only invest in the realme 16x if you're prepared to trade away standard modern smartphone expectations in exchange for absolute off-grid battery supremacy.